Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here. In today's video, we're going to be going over a 2021 Mercedes AMG GLE 53. First and foremost though, a huge shout out and thank you to Harrison Imports for giving me some time with this Mercedes. Check out their inventory in the link below. Let's get straight into the video. Now let's go over this 2021 Mercedes AMG GLE 53. First off, I always think it's hilarious how Mercedes has the one logo on the top of the hood and then the giant logo just down below. It's like, well, you got to let everyone know that you have a Mercedes, and then there's the AMG logo off to the side. Then you guys can see the intercooler there behind the front grille. Definitely looks cool. And then I like the accenting down there. And then notice the headlights. You've got the LED accent lights with the projector bulbs. Looks pretty good overall. And then there's parking sensors integrated throughout the front, which I think they're pretty stealth, so they don't pop out too much and mess with the design on the vehicle. And then I was just showing you guys like how big that logo is. It's just absolutely crazy. But we, of course, have to go under the hood of the 53, which the latch is right there. It's that little red thing that you just have to pull down pretty far back, though, to actually reach it. And wait for it. We obviously have to pop it. It's always a fun process trying to find the latch. So under the hood, we have a 3-liter turbocharged inline 6 that does go through a 9-speed automatic transmission. It's good for 429 horsepower and then 384 pound-feet of torque. I mean, pretty strong engine overall. Pretty cool setup. And you guys can see everything under the hood just looks fantastic. As you guys can see, I love how on the engine cover they did that to show that it's an inline 6. I think that was pretty creative. And yeah, actually got it shut first time. That pretty much never happens, funny enough, whenever I shut a hood. But coming here to the side, we've got 22-inch wheels. Wrapped around the front tires, we've got 285mm tires. So pretty wide tires. And look how big those rotors are. Again, got to remember, pretty big tires. And then you can see the venting. We've got our Turbo 4MATIC badge right there. And then also got the side steps there at the bottom. And then the blacked out mirrors, which have the little camera there just down below. Now the back wheels, 22-inch wheels again, 325mm tires. So quite a bit wider. And then you guys can see we've got the Mercedes logo there on the taillights themselves. And I actually really like the design on the taillights. Look pretty good. And then you can see those beefy AMG exhaust tips, which yes, the exhaust does crackle and pop. More parking sensors, and then you've got the rear diffuser there, and then we've got the other AMG logo. Now here is our key fob. Notice it says AMG there on the front, and then you've got the button there to pop open the rear hatch. And popping back here, it's actually a pretty nice place. Notice you've got the AMG floor mats. You can flex on all of your passengers, and then there's a cargo cover there as well. And then you've got the giant Mercedes covering, and then I really like those right there, kind of like the metallic plaques. And then notice you can lock it from the rear, or you can just throw down the hatch. And I love how they're finished in red, so they really pop out. And then you can see you've got that like swooping coupe design there in the back. Now here's the door panel on the rear, and the door panel is actually really nice. So you've got leather there at the top, and then you've got the contrasted stitching with carbon fiber, and then you've got one of the speakers for the Burmester sound system. And then the leather down below is actually nicer. It's like softer to touch, and then really nice metallic trim for everything. And then looking at the seats, really nice leather with a mix of leather, Alcantara, and then a bunch of contrasted stitching. And then of course, wouldn't be a complete Ben Hardy video without legroom. And then you guys can see you've got some vents with stitching around it and some extra storage. And then you've got that for the full panoramic roof, which is pretty nice. And then just kind of closing that up and popping over to the front. Notice the chrome on the door handles. And then the door panel here in the front is pretty much identical to the rear from a design perspective, and also the colors. But notice there's some controls there for like the heated, cooled seats, the actual adjustments for the seats themselves, and then more controls for the windows. And then that's just for the rear hatch. And then look how just cushiony, I guess, those headrests are, is the best way to put it. You guys can see me squeezing it right there. But yeah, notice the bolstering there for the seats, really nice. No controls on the seats, obviously, because they're on the door. And then the pedals are really nice material-wise. And then popping in, notice more carbon fiber, and then you've got that for the light controls right there. And then didn't fully start it up, obviously, but you guys can see with the screens right here, looks really cool. Notice how they have perforated leather on the side of the steering wheel so that you actually can get a better grip. And then the pedals actually felt really nice. And then you've got Mercedes like newer controls there on the steering wheel, look and feel really nice. And then you've got the cruise control there on the other side. Full digital gauge cluster, looks absolutely fantastic. Just overall really nice system, and there's a bunch of stuff that you can customize. You guys have seen this gauge cluster in some other videos I've done with Mercedes product recently, like the G-Wagon, for example. And then you've got the infotainment system, which response time on it is really good, actually. And not only that, it looks good. And I like how it's connected to the like center gauge cluster, because then it kind of all flows together. It doesn't look as tacked on like you have with some car manufacturers. But you can see that you can control the infotainment system via touchscreen or the keypad on the steering wheel, which is pretty cool. And then notice here on the dash, just the material use right there with the leather and the stitching and all that. And then it does have really cool ambient lighting as well. And then you can see that it kind of runs all along the dash right there. Looks really good, if you ask me. And then down below that, we've got controls there for the climate system, which is pretty cool. And then you've got this, which I struggled to open, and then I finally figured it out. You kind of have to like lightly push it, but you've got some cup holders there, more ambient lighting, as you can see, and then a wireless phone charger, which obviously it's kind of a must, and it actually holds your phone in place, which is very important. And then that's another way to control the infotainment system, is via that trackpad. So you literally have 3 different places that you can use to control the infotainment system. They have tripled down on the controls, which is pretty crazy stuff. And we, of course, have a wrist rest. Got the different drive modes right there with that button. And then you got stuff like the camera system, your favorite button, navigation, all the normal controls right here. And then this is pretty cool. So we have the suspension to raise and lower it, stability control, and then the manual shift mode. And then that's to firm up the suspension, then for the exhaust as well. And then you can see that we've got some pretty good storage space there in the center console. Nice leather, though, all over it. The touch points are definitely nice. And I love that ambient lighting around the grab handle there in the center. I think that looks really good from an aesthetic perspective overall. And then you guys can, of course, see, got the glove box. Super important. And then there's just the top again with the sunroof and all that fun stuff. Now, I just wanted to quickly show you guys this GLE 53 right next to a G-Wagon, so you guys can kind of see the size difference and then also the styling difference as well. I definitely prefer the G-Wagon styling, I will be honest, but just cool to see them next to each other for sure. Now, I just wanted to give my quick thoughts on the 2021 Mercedes AMG GLE 53. Other than the confusing name itself, let's actually talk about it just in general. So first off, I think it looks pretty good. It's not my favorite styling from Mercedes. I still am a huge fan of the G-Wagon. That's why I kind of put that in the video where I showed you guys kind of the G-Wagon right next to it. So you could also see the size comparison between both of them, but also so you guys can see the styling differences quickly. Overall, it's a pretty good looking SUV, but I'm just not a huge fan of those, I guess like they're called sportback SUVs, right? We have like the BMW X5 and X6 that have that similar design, or like a Tesla Model Y as well. And I guess the reason I don't like how they look is it kind of looks like a penguin on its belly with like its tail up. Like if you guys have ever seen that, that's kind of what those SUVs look like to me. But aside from that, interior wise, it's actually really nice. Like the seats were really nice. All the touch points were really nice. The one thing that I would like to see from Mercedes, though, and I've said this in other Mercedes reviews, is that they use nicer leather even in the lower down packages, just because there's a lot of manufacturers that are using nicer leather in a lot less expensive vehicles nowadays. And so when you get into a Mercedes like that, that's, you know, pretty close to 6 figures, and you see that it doesn't have the nicest leather all over the dash and everything, it's a little bit disappointing, because then you can go and buy like a $50,000 car and have leather that is nicer than what you get in that. And so I think that they shouldn't just reserve it for like the high-end 63 models. I think they should have it in the 53s like this one, and then also in the 43s as well. I don't know, that's just kind of my thoughts, but overall, really cool SUV, and yeah, just exciting to review one. Now, that's going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Mercedes AMG GLE 53. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to Harrison Imports for giving me some time with the Mercedes. Check out their inventory and link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.